Welcome back. In this video, we explore the iconic moment about the Charlie Brown Christmas that changed everything. You will see why fans still talk about it and what makes this comeback unforgettable.
Charlie Brown Christmas hit 1965 like a holiday special nobody asked for. Too slow, too quiet, too gentle for a world chasing louder cartoons. It looked nothing like the shows around it, and nothing like what TV wanted. But behind the soft voices and that trembling little tree, there was a battle the audience never saw. A sponsor who saved the special simply by refusing to interfere. Linus's Bible reading that almost vanished in the edit. And one quiet refusal that sparked an entire Peanuts universe. These are 15 weird facts about a Charlie Brown Christmas, where quiet beat the noise and the smallest tree shined brightest. Number 1. Schultz's fight against animation. Long before Charlie Brown took his sad little tree to television, Charles Schultz had sworn Peanuts would never move. No animation, no voices, no exaggerated slapstick. He felt the strip worked because of its quiet stillness, those wide panels, those clean lines, that soft ache of childhood he captured better than anyone. So when advertising executives approached him about animating Snoopy for a Ford commercial, he bristled. He expected rubbery limbs, goofy expressions, and the kind of cartoon chaos that would cheapen everything he'd spent years building. Then he met Bill Melendez. Melendez didn't try to reinvent Peanuts. He studied the strip like a language. The way heads tilted, the way silence worked, the way Schultz used white space like emotion. When he finally presented sample animation, Schultz didn't see a cartoon. He saw his world, moving, but still itself. That small moment of trust became a turning point. Without that commercial, there would be no collaboration, no Christmas special, no gentle jazz score echoing through living rooms for generations. Schultz never wanted Peanuts animated, but once he found someone who understood its soul, he opened the door to a holiday classic that animation alone could bring to life. Number 2. Willie Mays sparked the special. Before Christmas trees, before Linus's spotlight speech, before a single piano note of Vince Guaraldi's jazz, it all began with baseball. Producer Lee Mendelson had just finished a documentary about Willie Mays, a quiet, heartfelt portrait that Charles Schultz deeply admired. Schultz wasn't impressed by Hollywood pitches or studio promises, but he respected sincerity. And when Mendelson arrived with an idea for a Peanuts documentary, Schultz said yes for one reason. He made a film about Willie Mays. That tells me who he is. That documentary never aired. The network passed. But the collaboration it sparked proved priceless. As they brainstormed what to do next, Coca-Cola asked Mendelson if he had a Christmas special in the works. He didn't. So he said what every great producer says when opportunity knocks, absolutely. And just like that, by sheer accident and timing, the door opened. Because one man made a film about Willie Mays, another man trusted him with Charlie Brown. Number 3. A classic built on $76,000. 6 months, a shoestring budget, and absolutely no room for mistakes. That's what Coca-Cola handed the Peanuts team in 1965 when it agreed, cautiously, to fund the first Christmas special. With only $76,000 to work with, animator Bill Melendez's studio went into overdrive. They worked through a blazing California summer drawing snow, cold breath, winter coats, and brittle branches while the heat outside hit 90 degrees. There was no luxury of redraws, no time for polished frames. Every shortcut became part of the aesthetic. Sketchy outlines, gentle motions, and pauses that felt like the characters were thinking instead of performing. The network called it cheap. The animators called it survival. Audiences called it honest. What everyone expected to be a limitation, the small budget, the fast timeline, the bare-bones animation, became the thing that made A Charlie Brown Christmas feel handmade, intimate, and timeless. Sometimes the best art comes from having almost nothing and choosing heart over polish. Number 4. Schultz kills the laugh track. In the 1960s, canned laughter ruled television. If a child tripped, if a cartoon slipped, if a dog barked, a studio audience laughed, whether you wanted it or not. CBS executives insisted the Peanuts special needed it too. They argued that silence made scenes feel empty, that children wouldn't get the humor, that TV needed to tell people when to laugh. Charles Schultz stared at them, calm and unmoving, and said the one sentence that shut the room down. Let the audience feel what they feel. When the executives pushed again, Schultz didn't argue. He didn't negotiate. He simply stood up and walked out of the meeting. That quiet defiance saved the special. Without forced laughter, Charlie Brown's world breathed. The pauses, the awkwardness, the loneliness, the sudden moments of warmth. Silence became part of the storytelling. It was an artistic gamble nobody believed in, except the man who knew that Peanuts had always spoken softly and trusted people enough to listen. Number 5. Jazz Schultz never wanted. The soundtrack that defines Christmas didn't start with confidence. It started with doubt. Charles Schultz wasn't a jazz fan. He once called the genre awful, worried it felt too loose, too modern, too grown up for Charlie Brown's quiet world. But producer Lee Mendelson believed in Vince Guaraldi. He'd heard Guaraldi take a simple idea and turn it into something warm and human, and he trusted Schultz would feel that too. When the first demo played, just a few piano notes drifting like falling snow, the room went still. Even Schultz, skeptical as ever, knew instantly that Guaraldi had captured the soul of Peanuts. What Schultz thought wouldn't work became the voice of every holiday season, and the music he almost turned down became the sound that generations can't imagine Christmas without. Number 6. Snoopy's voice born in a booth. Snoopy didn't get a voice actor. He didn't get a sound design team. He got Bill Melendez. The animator hunched over a microphone, barking, growling, whining, and giggling until his throat went raw. Schultz insisted Snoopy should never speak English, so Melendez had to build an entire emotional language out of nothing but noise. He recorded each sound slowly, one odd burst at a time, then sped the tapes up to give Snoopy that bright, elastic energy. Sometimes he'd lean so close to the mic the engineers had to back him away. Other times he'd drop to the floor and roll around just to get the right Snoopy flop. None of it was planned. None of it was polished. But the moment the sped up barks hit the animation, Snoopy came alive. Mischievous, expressive, and unmistakably himself. A whole character, built from one man's laughter echoing inside a tiny recording booth. Number 7. Charlie Brown nearly broke them. Charlie Brown may look simple, but animating him was chaos. Schultz never designed his characters to turn their heads, rotate, or move like traditional cartoons. His round face wasn't built to shift angles. His tiny arms were so short the animators joked he couldn't scratch his own head if his life depended on it. The team struggled for weeks trying to make him walk, walk, talk, and emote without breaking the style of the strip. Snoopy, ironically, became the easiest character. His looser proportions let him bend, twist, and dance without rules. What looked like charming simplicity was actually a nightmare to animate. But those limitations became part of the special's warmth. Little imperfections that made Charlie Brown feel human, not polished. Number 8. The tree mistake fans loved. Charlie Brown's tiny trembling tree, the symbol of the whole special, wasn't supposed to change. But somewhere between two shots, it mysteriously sprouts new branches. Two different animators worked on the sequence, each assuming they were matching the other, and they weren't. When Schultz noticed, he winced. He cared deeply about consistency, and the growing tree felt like a small failure in a project he wanted to keep pure. But audiences never complained. In fact, they loved it. That little continuity error became part of the special's handmade charm, a reminder that sometimes imperfections are the heart of the magic. One wrong branch, one happy accident, and one more reason the world fell in love with Charlie Brown's Christmas. Number 9. Execs who tried to kill it. Halfway through production, the team was already exhausted, animating through the summer heat, racing a deadline no one believed they could meet. When a Coca-Cola executive showed up without warning, he watched a few unfinished scenes. No polish, no music, no timing, just rough pencils and quiet voices. He pulled producer Lee Mendelson aside and whispered that it looked like a disaster. He even admitted that if he told Coca-Cola the truth, the company might cancel the whole thing. So he said nothing. His silence was the only reason the project survived another week. Then came CBS. The network screened the finished special in a room full of executives who didn't laugh once. They called it slow. They called it strange. They said it looked amateurish, too quiet, too bare, too un-TV. One exec complained that Schultz's own name was misspelled in the credits. Another said his aunt in New Jersey didn't like it, as if that settled the argument. CBS declared it a guaranteed failure and pushed the team to make changes. But Charles Schultz refused. Not angrily, not loudly. He simply said no and walked out of the room, the same way he had walked out when they tried to force a laugh track on him. And somehow, that quiet conviction carried the special to air. 1 week later, half of America tuned in, and every critic in that CBS room learned just how wrong they had been. Number 10. Half of America watched live. On December 9th, 1965, something almost impossible happened. Families across the country, in big cities, in tiny towns, in homes lit by tinsel and TV glow, all turned to the same channel at the same time. No hype, no social media, just word of mouth and curiosity. And then A Charlie Brown Christmas aired, and silence swept through living rooms everywhere. Not the silence executives feared, the good kind. The kind where people lean in. The kind where parents stop wrapping gifts and kids stop rustling candy wrappers because something gentle is happening on the screen. By the end of the broadcast, the numbers were staggering. Roughly 15 million households, almost half of America's TV audience, had watched it. CBS executives who predicted a flop were suddenly calling it a phenomenon. The special didn't just win the night. It became a shared national memory, born in a single quiet hour when the whole country paused and listened. Number 11. One scene erased a holiday fad. In 1965, aluminum trees were everywhere, shimmering, metallic, proudly artificial. Department stores lined them up in glowing rows. Advertisers called them the future of Christmas. They were flashy, futuristic, and completely hollow. Then Charlie Brown walked past them. He frowned, paused, and quietly chose the small, bare, fragile real tree instead. A moment so gentle, audiences barely realized what they were feeling. But the country did feel it. Within months, aluminum tree sales collapsed. By 1967, the industry was gasping for air. By 1969, it was gone. A simple, animated special, made with almost no money, changed an entire market simply by reminding people where the heart of Christmas really lived. One cartoon boy chose authenticity, and a national fad vanished like tinsel in the wind. Number 12. Kids who made peanuts real. Charles Schultz didn't want polished little actors pretending to sound like children. He wanted real kids with real voices and real hesitations. So the team hired neighborhood children, some from director Bill Melendez's own block, to fill the recording booth. They laughed between takes. They fidgeted with scripts. They asked questions no adult actor ever would. And that raw energy seeped into every line. But there was one problem no one expected. Several of the youngest kids couldn't read yet. When they saw their scripts, they froze. So Melendez sat beside them, reading each sentence softly into their headphones. The kids repeated the lines word for word, the pauses, the breath, the small stumbles. And those mistakes became the Peanuts rhythm we still recognize today. It wasn't training. It wasn't technique. It was childhood captured in real time, preserved in pencil lines, and little voices learning as they went. And that imperfect music became the soul of a Charlie Brown Christmas. Number 13. The gospel moment nearly cut. Schultz believed the story needed a beating heart, something honest, something true. So he wrote Linus standing alone on stage, delivering a full passage from the Gospel of Luke. No music, no jokes, no movement, just stillness. Producer Lee Mendelson panicked. Sponsors might pull out. CBS might reject the whole special. Religious content in primetime was a risk nobody wanted. Schultz refused to change a word. If we don't do it, he said, who will? The scene stayed, and when Linus whispered,
"That's what Christmas is all about, Charlie Brown,"
the country fell silent. For many families, that moment became the emotional anchor of the entire holiday season. 1 minute of scripture nearly vanished, and instead became the soul of the special. Number 14. School plays that broke the rules. For nearly half a century, schools and community theaters kept staging A Charlie Brown Christmas the same way families breathed, quietly, instinctively, every December. Children stepped into Charlie's zigzag shirt, teachers built cardboard Snoopy houses, and local choirs practiced Hark the Herald Angels Sing like it was tradition, except it wasn't legal. From 1965 to 2013, not a single stage production had official rights. Every school play, every church program, every community performance was technically unauthorized. But the love for the special ran deeper than the rules that surrounded it, and nobody wanted to stop kids from sharing that simple magic. Finally, in 2013, the rights were cleared. Tams Witmark released a fully licensed stage version. Music, dialogue, choreography, everything. For the first time in decades, those tiny scripts and bright spotlights weren't breaking the rules. They were honoring the legacy that made Christmas feel like home. Number 15. How one hit built Peanuts seasons. When the special premiered in 1965, nobody expected lightning in a bottle. But that quiet, thoughtful, slightly melancholy half hour became a national event, and suddenly CBS wanted more, much more. So Schultz, Melendez, and Mendelson built a holiday universe. The Great Pumpkin, the Easter Beagle, Thanksgiving dinner, even deep cuts like Arbor Day and New Year's. Some were hits, some faded into the airwaves, but everyone carried a small piece of that original magic. The stillness, the honesty, the childhood perspective Schultz never lost. Together, they turned Peanuts into a year-round ritual. One Christmas miracle became a cultural calendar. And if this little Christmas story still hits your heart the way it always has, you can bring a Charlie Brown Christmas home. Just check the links below for the Blu-ray, DVD, or 4K. And if you want to keep the whole holiday tradition going, the full Peanuts holiday collection is right there too. Thanks for the support. It really means a lot. Now, let's step quietly back into the snow. Bonus fact. Behind the gentle animation, the soft jazz, and the quiet emotions were four men who had seen the world at its harshest. All four major creators were U.S. military veterans. Charles Schultz fought in World War II and carried the weight of those memories for the rest of his life. Lee Mendelsohn served in the Air Force. Vince Guaraldi and Bill Melendez both served in the Army. They built a Christmas special not out of fantasy, but out of lived experience, finding warmth after hardship, hope after loss, and simplicity after chaos. Schultz once said his proudest achievement wasn't fame or fortune, but the combat infantryman's badge he earned under fire. A Charlie Brown Christmas wasn't just made by artists, it was made by men who understood the value of peace, because they'd lived without it. A Charlie Brown Christmas was never meant to last. It was rushed together, doubted by executives, nearly buried before it aired. But somehow, with broken animation, real children's voices, and a jazz score no one asked for, they created something pure. It's quiet in a season that's loud. It's gentle in a world that rarely is. And every December, it reminds us that the smallest things, a lonely tree, a single spotlight, a child telling the truth, can soften the whole world for a moment. If this special still stops you in your tracks, if it still makes you breathe a little slower, tell us your memory, the music, the tree, Linus stepping forward, or that feeling you can't explain, but always recognize. Because stories like this don't shine because they're big. They shine because they're honest. And every year, when the lights come on, they teach us how to feel again.
Did that surprise you? Tell me which part hit you hard. If you like this moment, share it and subscribe for more legendary comeback.